Very good morning. You're watching the India Market Open, and what a morning it's going to be. So much to digest. You know, the things that can happen in 48 hours. The attack or retaliatory attack from Iran was widely expected, but to this extent, 300 ballistic missiles and various kinds of missiles raining down. And then the fact that 99% of them
were thwarted. And there were no fatalities. And now, just in the last 12 odd hours, you have the world trying to calm things down. Just to quote the UN Secretary General Guterres, he says the world cannot afford another war. And I hope better sense prevails. Yeah.
But that's the backdrop this morning. That's the big story, isn't it?
Yeah, Tamanna, and it's the start of a very busy week, even though it's a truncated one for India, because geopolitical tensions, while cooled off, but the overhang certainly remains. India elections get underway end of the week, and you will be busier than ever before. Maybe Vodafone FPO sucks out over $2 billion worth of liquidity from the markets as well, and it's a busy results week for us as well. Tech, post TCS, Infi, HCL Tech, Wipro, there is HDFC Bank. So it's a really busy week that we have on our hands.
Yeah, and an exciting morning to unpack. Absolutely.
Yes.
The BJP manifesto was out.
Yes.
And considering that they're widely expected to come back to power, what they plan to do in a possible third term becomes very, very important. What sectors are in focus, what stocks are in focus. There's a Phillips Capital note out, and we'll include that as well. I have my top 10 takeaways. So all of that coming up. Just before we go to Jeff Dennis, who's standing by to give us a sense of how this whole Middle East crisis will play out, I want to quickly take you through what the whole global news flow is in the scenario over the last 48 hours, as we said. And we'll start by telling you how US markets were responding. They were negative even before the Iran attack came in. The Dow futures, and I just want to pull out the Dow futures, though did recover to some extent. So you're seeing the Dow futures in the green, but the Dow, Nasdaq, S&P 500 were all in the negative over inflation concerns. There is now talk of a rate cut moving to calendar year 25. So even that conversation has begun. So as that reality sinks in, the US markets, of course, were negative. Bonds also inched up. They have inched up about 25-30 basis points odd to about 4.53. But no major panic. Even in a crude, you did see the Brent move up and then slip down again back to about $90 per barrel. And there's a couple of factors of that. One of them, the White House making it very clear it's not going to participate in any retaliatory attacks that Israel mounts. So while everyone's standing, the G7 is standing by Israel, the entire commentary and the thought is that don't take this any further, let's try and leave it at it. Even Iran has come out and said that it's not going to continue and its set of attacks is completely done. Just want to quickly pull up how Asia has opened before we get to Jeff and more of that deep dive commentary. And Asia is mixed actually. Shanghai not doing too badly at all. So we'll wait and see. Our implied open, of course, down in the red.
No, just one thing. Dow futures are in the green, by the way. So that's actually
I mentioned
good news.
that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay.
I mentioned that. So you're seeing that sort of, even gold did pull back after that initial spike. So yes, maybe cooler heads to prevail.
The Dow futures in the green give a slight indication of what the world market's not being as pensive. Oil gives that indication as well. We'll talk about oil as well, Tamanna, but just that. Just thought we'll bring in the India context here and just get the trade set out of the way, because last week was a week which was contained, right? We had most indices being plus minus 1%. So the geopolitical impact contained for now, yes, remains an overhang. Hopefully doesn't do too much damage than what the implied Nifty is suggesting, which is about 150 odd points, maybe not more than that. But one would suspect that it will largely be a range-bound move with a mild downward bias. But I do think that the outflows may dip today. I mean, we saw an unnaturally large number in Friday's session, over 8,000 crores. Very likely that may not really stay up.
In fact, let's pull up that figure, because remember, on Friday, the whole story was, what is this Mauritius tax treaty impact going to be for FPIs? And later that evening, there was not a clarification, but a sort of commentary from the CBDT and from the government saying that none of this has been notified yet. Now, does that really ease fears? I'm not sure, but 8,000 crores was the outflow from FIIs, more than it usually is, significantly large number, balanced to some extent by DII buys as well. So that's what the Friday story was. Just to round up, the whole geopolitical piece, Niraj, this is one of those things where you can't really say it's over and done with either.
Yeah,
just for now, it seems that maybe the world is not interested in having two wars on at the same time, because Ukraine-Russia is not even done yet. But the focus, I think, domestically is also going to be on result season. Yeah,
so just before we get to that, and which is why I think contained for now, but remains an overhang, largely inbound mood, downward bias, outflows though thankfully may come off today. But from amongst pockets that you see, metals are seeing some institutional buying. You speak to dealers in various insti dealing rooms and they are saying that large clients are coming out and buying into metal stocks. So it's not just what's happening via small trade. There is large institutional buying happening in metals. Look at aluminum, by the way, up 6 or 7% overnight. You will definitely see a Hindalco, Nalco, maybe a Vedanta being very active in today's session as well. So metals remains a pocket to watch out for. Chemical stocks are starting to see a breakout. I attended this Singularity conference, which is a Madhukela initiative Thursday and Friday. Every large investor out there was talking about how they are trying to see where is it that they can buy into chemical names now, because they believe that that down cycle seems to be over. So watch out for chemicals in particular as well. At some point of time in the day today, our colleague Varsha will do a very nice deep dive on chemicals. So those two remains a key. And something up Tamanna's alley entirely, the election process getting underway, manifesto related stocks today, certainly an eye out for, and the results for this week as well, certainly an eye out for.
Yeah, so polling starts from 19th, so end of this week, but the BJP manifesto was the big trigger. Just to take you through stocks that could be really active today, and TCS of course is first on the list. The numbers were out right after market close on Friday, and I know Niraj, you've spoken with the management, we'll have that bit as well. But just a quick take, so the revenue growth was lower than expected, margins were decent, and that's really showing the efficiency that TCS brings in. So a mixed bag there. I think may have a positive bump up right at the start of trade. I'm not sure if it will persist, because look at things like this, and I found this startling. The net headcount this year for TCS is in the negative for the first time in nearly 2 decades, in 19 years to be precise. They are saying that they're going to be hiring more and they will increase salaries, etc. But that one sort of data point doesn't speak to too much confidence. And if you listen to the management commentary as well, they do of course say that they think growth has bottomed out in your North America BFSI segments, but when will you see a recovery? There doesn't seem to be any clarity there. So on a TCS, I think you might see a bit of a positive up move, and then maybe that will peter out. I don't know if you want to come in on TCS. You spoke to the management, you've tracked that number quite closely as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought the management commentary, and people will hear this, did not indicate near-term green shoots. In fact, the conversation around elections came about as well, and would there be uncertainty in client spending until the election result is out? So that is way back till November, right? So that was one. Somehow didn't inspire a great near-term green shoots. The margin confidence was evident, Tamanna. You mentioned about headcount coming off, etc. All of that, and subcontracting costs being handled well. So the margin confidence was very, very evident. But growth confidence somehow lacking. And would the street want to see growth as opposed to margin performance as the trigger? That remains the question. So somehow difficult to make a case for long IT currently, at least based on the commentary.
I think currently, relatively, if you grade them on a bell curve, and if Gen AI is the next bit, the kind of push that they have of training, they're saying inquiry pipeline is good. Yeah. So then among the pack, maybe TCS is best placed. But we're of course going to have a more detailed conversation on that as well. Just the other lot, since we've been speaking about the Middle East crisis, and this list I found interesting of if there is an impact, then what impact in which spaces. So I'll pull that up. The crude price impact continues to be the big one, right? So if I look at the crude price impact, then you have an RIL, ONGC, HPCL, BPCL, and IOC or an Oil India in that space, which could see some impact, positive or negative, depending on upstream and downstream. The defense demand play is also very much there, and you should keep an eye out on that. A Bharat Forge, a Bharat Electronics, a BEL, and L&T, because if you're going to be looking at a greater demand for defense and more collaborations, India is not, just on the fringes right now. There is a whole supply chain there. So these could have some impact. In terms of revenue exposure, I thought Adani Ports is one to look out for, because the Haifa port, that they run is in Israel. Will there be an impact there? Jain Irrigation was the other one. They have a subsidiary in Israel, so you might see some kind of movement over there today because of their Israeli subsidiary. So this one set. And the other story that I found interesting, and there is a note out this morning also that there could be some impact. Of course, we'll get to more individual movement related stocks, but the Commerce Ministry has now told e-commerce websites that they can no longer say a Bonvita or a Horlicks is a health drink. They cannot be specified under the health drink category. They have to be called mixes or some such. Would you see an impact on an HUL today, which makes a Boost and a Horlicks because of the reclassification? What about the FMCG players, ITC, Colgate-Palmolive, or Nestle? A lot of their products, push to the healthy space. And anyway, I found that an interesting story, because I think we've grown up understanding that this is the secret to our energy. Or, these are really
is the
healthy.
Secret of Kapil Dev's energy for sure, and Sachin's energy.
These are healthy drinks, and force the kids to have this because it'll make them healthy, and that whole thing changes. And I also found this interesting because the guy who started it all, the influencer, someone Revat Himansingka we spoke to, and what a big change that can make.
Yes, most certainly. Okay, so watch out for the FMCG stocks as well, but a bunch of other stocks to keep an eye out for before we get to Vanna. Harish is waiting by. So watch out for Indus Towers on the Vodafone fundraise. So Citi has a note on Indus Towers. They have a buy with the target price raised to 390 from 320. So watch out for Indus Towers in the session today, 328 currently. They say they've opened a positive catalyst watch. They're saying the improved visibility on Vodafone succeeding in its fundraised effort is the key reason. And they upgrade their FY25 and 26 earnings by 5% and 12% on higher tenancy forecasts. So watch out for this one. Watch out for Anand Rathi Wealth. Revenues up nearly 30%, PAT up nearly 30%. Yes, margins were down a little bit, but the buyback also comes into play at 44.50 or thereabouts. The pricing, small buyback, but nevertheless. So all of that in focus. Keep an eye out on Anand Rathi Wealth, and keep an eye out on Granules and Sun Pharma. Now, Granules, US FDA has inspected the Andhra Pradesh facility between April 8th and 12th and ended with 0 observations. This should be construed net positive. Maybe Granules react, so you should know why Granules could be reacting. And viewers would remember that Sun Pharma was the top loser in Friday's session. Now, because of a US FDA action on one of its plant, HSBC says that they are retaining the buy with a target price of 1790. Why? Because while there is this overhang of US FDA, so they expect US generic sales to anyways remain range bound on this FDA issues and low visibility of launches. But the bigger trigger for Sun Pharma is that specialty sales are key for earnings growth, which are offsetting the challenges in the US generics. And they expect global specialty sales at 19% of total revenue by FY26 versus 16%. So global specialty is where the focus, according to HSBC, is on Sun Pharma. So do keep a keen eye out for that as well. There's also Morgan Stanley on X side. They've raised the target price to 485. So that's also could come in focus. But before we get to Vanna, anything else, Tamanna?
Yeah, just a couple. Varun Beverages, I thought one to look out for. They've started commercial production of their carbonated soft drink and energy drinks at UP facility. There was a bit of stock impact when this was first announced, but this has now begun. And remember, Varun Beverages is also in our list of coolant stocks. So in a hot summer, the stocks that may be impacted positively, and this is one of them. Infosys, I thought this was interesting, and our colleagues are figuring out what the impact is for the company, but the announcement on the face of it, they have a pact with AWS to launch a Gen AI foundry for financial services. It would be great to actually speak to the team and to the management and figure out how they're going to use generative AI for financial services and what are they going to do with AWS on this. Just Sterlite Tech, another one, they've approved an allotment of 8.9 crore shares to buyers at an issue price of 113 per share, lower than what the floor price was set. So I'd watch out for that as well.